History lovers and wannabe Indiana Joneses around the world dream of finding a rare and valuable artifact during their travels. And the truth is that many people who aren't looking for something end up finding something incredibly rare on accident or by pure luck. However, there are other people who have been searching long and hard and recently discovered some incredible artifacts. From an ancient Qing Dynasty sword to a bizarre 400-million-year-old hammer, check out these 10 recently discovered ancient artifacts. Chinese man finds old sword in ground, uses it as a kitchen knife. A 60-year-old Chinese farmer named Yi Shaosheng was digging on his land in Chengkou County in China Province when he stumbled across an old sword blade that had no handle. Not thinking much of it at the time, he took it home and used it as a kitchen knife for 5 years, until one day he noticed some strange characters on the blade. He then took the blade to some experts who were astonished to discover that the sword dated back to the Qing Dynasty between 1644 and 1912. The sword had the characters for King Leng Jian, which means green dragon sword, etched in the steel. It's a good thing that Yi discovered the markings on the blade and experts got their hands on it. Because Yi had been sharpening the blade for 5 years, the experts had a difficult time dating the exact time the blade was made. However, it is still estimated that the blade is worth $160,000. Even if sharpening decreased its value a little, that's one amazing rare find. Thor's hammer. No, we're not talking about Mjolnir, the very powerful and mythic hammer which Thor used to protect Asgard from the frost giants. Instead, this small artifact is a Viking amulet in the shape of Thor's hammer, which dates back to the 10th century. Archaeologists have found thousands of these, called Thor's hammer, across the Viking world, but have always argued about whether they represent Thor's hammer or something else entirely. This discovery, which was found on Kobelev, part of the Danish island Lolland, seems to have finally answered whether the amulet was made to resemble Thor's hammer or not. Strangely enough, the person who made this particular artifact was illiterate, so they inscribed runes on the amulet which had confirmed that these tiny trinkets do, in fact, represent Thor's hammer. It's a rare thing to discover a message from our ancient world, but when we do, the revelations are incredible. Pensioner finds 2,300-year-old pure gold crown under bed. An elderly Englishman who decided to remain anonymous really had a stroke of luck when he rediscovered inherited treasure in the form of an authentic Greek gold crown in a cardboard box under his bed. He had inherited the box from his grandfather and saw the crown long ago, but didn't think it had any value, so he didn't pay any attention to it. That was until one day he decided to have it appraised by Dukes of Dorchester in 2017. He was totally shocked when they told him the crown was over 2,000 years old and worth $135,000. The mysterious thing about the crown is that no one has any idea where it came from or how the grandfather came into possession of it. However, there is some dirt still embedded in the crown which leads experts to believe it was recently discovered. You've got to admit, that's a pretty cool thing to find under your bed. 1,000-year-old Viking sword discovered. Some discoveries really do just land in your lap, as Arne Bjorn Vladimarsson found out in 2016 when he and a group of friends went hunting for geese and instead found a 1,000-year-old Viking sword laying on the sand, completely exposed. Not only was the sword a remarkable find, but it also once belonged to a remarkable man. It is believed that the blade once belonged to Ingolfur Arnarsson, the first Norseman to settle permanently in Iceland. Vikings were famous for their love of travel and great battles, and few ever stayed in the same place for a long time, driven by a sense of adventure. One great story tells that Arnarsson, upon landing in Iceland, threw wooden posts into the sea and said he would build his house wherever they landed, thereby putting his future in the hands of the gods. Vladimarsson did the right thing by passing the sword to the Cultural Heritage Agency of Iceland, which has worked on its identification and preservation. They estimate that the steel sword dates to roughly 950 AD or before. Ancient Texas hammer found embedded in rock. There are few ancient artifacts that suggest a bigger debate than the legendary London hammer. The hammer was found in a tiny little town called London, located in Texas, USA, embedded in rock. But here's the big mystery. The rock that the hammer is stuck in is over 400 million years old. Could it be possible that humans were around making tools so long ago? For the hammer to become frozen in the rock, it would have had to be made long before it became encased in sediment, which fossilized. The hammer itself is very old. In fact, it's so old that it had begun to turn to coal. The hammer itself is believed to be more than 500 million years old. And another thing, the hammer is composed of 97% pure iron, which means that the people who made it had advanced metal-making technology for their time. Could an ancient and advanced civilization have made this and then completely vanished? Is the dating correct? Let us know what you think in the comments. Religious artifacts found alongside bones in attic may be relics of a saint. Mr. Williston of St. John, New Brunswick, Canada, made a remarkable discovery while cleaning out his attic one night in 2015. Alongside the usual family heirlooms, unused furniture, and Christmas decorations, he was shocked to discover bones, some jewelry, and many other strange trinkets. Not knowing what to do, Williston's daughter contacted a local church, a jeweler, and an archaeologist to investigate. The interesting thing is that Williston had just bought the home, which had once belonged to his parents when he was a child. A German family had been living there for many, many years prior. The interesting thing is that after the discovery, Williston and his daughter tried to contact the family, but there was no reply. Now it is believed that there is a chance that these strange items and religious relics are believed to be loot from World War II. Now the family wants to see if it's possible to return these items to their rightful owners. However, the items could be worth a small fortune since they are relics from World War II. Roman swords. Big-time discoveries are really a dream for archaeologists, both amateur and professional alike. So the chance to work on an excavation site at the Roman fort of Vindolanda, just south of Hadrian's Wall, was a dream come true for archaeologist Sarah Baker. She, along with other volunteers, helped to unearth a previously unknown barracks at the site in 2017. They were responsible for the discovery of a real treasure trove, which included an intact sword with a bent tip, a second smaller sword, and 2 wooden toy swords. They also found Roman ink writing tablets, bath clogs, leather shoes, hairpins, stylus pens, brooches, and knives. All of these artifacts date to around about 120 AD, back when the fort was occupied by the first cohort of Tungarians who hailed from what is now Belgium. Viking shield. In 2008, Danish archaeologists who were digging 60 miles or so outside of Copenhagen found a stunningly well-preserved Viking shield, which is believed to be around 1,000 years old. Archaeologist Kirsten Christensen was understandably excited upon discovering it. The reason it was so well preserved is that of the moist soil and sediment that covered it, keeping oxygen out, which causes things to decay. The amazing thing about this shield is that it is the first shield of its kind to be found in Denmark. While the shield isn't very big, only measuring 32 inches in diameter, it is still an important find, for Danish archaeologists will use it to study ancient 10th century Viking culture and the equipment they used during raids across Western Europe. It's hard to say whether more shields like this one will be discovered, but only time will tell. Amazing discovery found in the sand could rewrite Australian history. Those who know Australian history no doubt know that Dutchman Willem Janszoon is credited with the discovery of Australia when he landed in North Queensland in 1606, around 160 years before Captain Cook. However, a discovery of some copper coins on Wessel Island by a patrolling soldier in 1944 may just rewrite that history. Maury Eisenberg found 5 coins buried in the sand on the Wessel Islands and popped them into a tin before forgetting about them. But when he came across the tin again in 1979, he decided to send them off to a museum, which led to a big surprise. The coins were dated clear back to 900 AD and are thought to be of East African or Middle Eastern origin. This would mean that neither Jansun nor Cook had first discovered Australia, and that an ancient people had been there previously. But who were they, and where did the ancient civilization go? This still remains a mystery. Grandmother's Ming Dynasty-style plate sells for nearly $250,000. We all know that grandmothers have a love of pottery, porcelain, and fine china. And what most people don't expect is to be left a porcelain plate by their grandmother, which is worth over $265,000. 3 Derbyshire siblings, who preferred to remain anonymous, inherited a Ming Dynasty-style plate from their late grandmother, only to find out that it was actually a Ming Dynasty plate, dating back to the reign of Emperor Yongzheng. This means that the plate is not only around 300 years old, but that it was worth a huge amount of money. What is most remarkable is the way in which the plate came into their family's possession. It is believed that the plate was brought back from America in the early 20th century by Scottish businessman Alexander Robertson. When he passed away in 1922, his belongings were shipped back to Edinburgh and divided amongst his relatives, being passed down in the family until these 3 siblings realized their fortune.